This year, Jamaica celebrated 60 years of independence. As a resident in Jamaica, with this video, I'd like to look at how a Caribbean island in just 60 years turned into an iconic nation like no other. You might have heard the phrase, Jamaica is a brand. Well, let's look at these last 60 years to understand how exactly Jamaica became a brand. This video is sponsored by you. Thank you so much for the support. Jamaica is a beautiful island. Nobody argues that. But there are many beautiful places. In fact, the neighboring Dominican Republic or Haiti also have beaches, mountains, and waterfalls. Beautiful nature is not the only thing that makes Jamaica, Jamaica. It is mainly the people. Let's start with the less-known fact that Jamaica is one of the leading countries in the world when it comes to freedom. I've noticed that a lot of Jamaicans don't realize that what they take for granted in Jamaica is not how the rest of the world works. For instance, the freedom of the press. Here is the map of the world where the press is classified as free, partly free, or not free. This alone can show you that majority of countries do not have fully free press. But if we look at press freedom in more detail, including the cases of violence against journalists, you'd see that Jamaica is right here in the company of only a handful of other countries, setting the press freedom standards for the rest of the world. Of course, press freedom is not the only criteria. The other one is the freedom of expression. That is, how much the citizens can voice their views. And again, Jamaica leads the way. As somebody who's lived in Jamaica for many years, what I find interesting is how Jamaican people, on average, absolutely hate their government. The extent to which the government is criticized in Jamaica is incredible. But guess what? All this criticism of the government is a very good thing because it's a sign of a highly developed democratic society. However, in 1960s, the level of democracy in Jamaica wasn't anywhere as high. And what we have now is an achievement of independent Jamaica. Just average Jamaican people who are active, voicing their opinions, and as a result, political leaders in Jamaica are elected under comprehensive voting rights in free and fair elections. Such high levels of democracy and freedom became one of the keys in the development of Jamaican culture that had an impact on the world at the scale that wasn't expected from the country of the size like Jamaica. All countries have basic infrastructure and a lot of things in common, especially in our global society. But what makes every country different? The answer is culture. Festivals and events, music, literature, traditions, a sense of history, architecture, public art, outdoor places like parks and markets, and even sport. Basically everything that humans create. All these things produce this cultural vibrancy, or simply put, vibes. And these vibes help to build a unique identity. This identity is what makes a Jamaican diaspora outside of the country often feel there is something missing inside of them. And it's these vibes that they cannot get anywhere else but Jamaica. And this is also the reason why when many tourists come to Jamaica, they don't just come for the beaches and drinks. They want Jamaican culture, the vibes they cannot experience at home. So, what is it about Jamaican culture that makes it stand out? You wouldn't be surprised to hear that Jamaica had a significant impact on music industry. But the thing is, people often associate Jamaica just with reggae, while in reality, Jamaicans created several music genres. In 1950s, there was mento, a popular Jamaican folk music genre. Here's an example. But when it comes to independent Jamaica in 1960s, there was first ska, then rocksteady, and only then reggae. Jimmy Cliff, Toots and the Maytals, Bob Marley and the Wailers, just to name a few who pushed Jamaica into becoming an icon in music industry and making reggae so popular that people began applying the term reggae to all music that comes from Jamaica, even when it's not reggae. So for those who don't know the difference between ska, rocksteady and reggae, it is mainly the pace and the rhythm. To put it simple, ska is fast, rocksteady is slower, reggae has some double strokes when playing. Here's a clear difference with acoustic guitar. We should also remember that in 1970s, hip-hop came from the streets of New York City in the United States, but the person who's credited for this is Clive Campbell, better known for his stage name DJ Kool Herc, who's actually Jamaican, born in Kingston.
From Jamaica he came with a sense of rhythm, and what he brought to the Bronx was a sound system. Music he played made life work, and made him a legend. Kool DJ Herc.
He was also the one who developed and popularized the concept of rhythmically spoken accompaniment, now simply known as rapping. In the 2000s, another music genres created by the Jamaicans experienced a worldwide mainstream success. I'm talking about dancehall.
You want the G6? Call me. May I be remix? Call me. Well, I know Likkle girl, them on the road, them got the goody.
From 2010, Jamaican dancehall began to heavily influence the work of established Western artists and producers, and as a result, we now have this very different trend, especially in American music. Of course, there will be separate videos on this channel about Jamaican music and musicians, so if you have a recording studio or you are a performing musician who wishes to participate in the video on this channel, please contact me before the 1st of December 2022. And for everybody else, if you like our videos, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell notification so you won't miss any upcoming content. Another huge cultural influence Jamaica had on the world was, of course, social and spiritual. I'm talking about Rastafari. In the beginning of the 20th century, Rastafari were going against many set colonial rules and against many things that were viewed as socially acceptable or right. As a result, those in power kept forcing bad image for Rastafari. When Jamaica became independent, it didn't really get any better. There was still a lot of prejudice and discrimination against Rastafari community, especially in the 60s and 70s. So for those who keep saying that back in the day it was better in Jamaica, well, certainly not for Rastafari. Despite all these challenges, Rastafarian teachings about liberty, ital lifestyle, their faith, their message and philosophy reached out way beyond Jamaica, to the point that in some countries people associate Jamaica with Rastafari and think that everybody in Jamaica is a Rasta, which is of course not true, but it goes to show how influential Rastafari culture is. Most Jamaicans are bilingual. Their two native languages are English and Jamaican Creole, also called Patois. Some people think that Jamaican Patois is a dialect of English. It is not. It's a separate language. There is a video about Jamaican Creole that explains it best. It was created by a famous linguist on YouTube, Paul, from Langfocus channel. And it now has over 2 million views.
The word for eat.
Nyam.
This word comes from a West African language, perhaps Wolof. The word for ghost.
Doppy.
This comes from Akan. The word for spider.
Anansi.
This also comes from Akan.
Fun fact, the patois samples you can hear in that video is the voice of my friend and colleague Derek from Montego Bay. However, the main point I want to make here is that there has been this stigma attached to Jamaican Creole as improper English for a very long time. But it is with the help of talented Jamaican poets and writers, people began to recognize the authenticity of Jamaican language and its value to Jamaican culture. Miss Lou is certainly one of the most influential people to mention here, as she did a lot to promote, quote, the nation language.
Price of bread gone up so high that we have to agree to cut we hype and bread and all turn dumpling refugee. And all them maga smaddy, whether go on like fatty sin, all them that whether fast with me, I left them to dumpling. This long time, girl, me never.
There is still no official writing system with grammar rules for Jamaican language, no official dictionaries as such, but Jamaican Creole is very much alive, used all over the island, and it also has its own dialects in different parts of Jamaica.
And I want to tell you, inhabitants say the girl go for him. And him sing a car and tell him say the girl go.
Food as a part of Jamaican culture developed over the period of 400 years, but it is only in the last 60 years of independent Jamaica that its cuisine had such a strong influence outside of the island, especially in countries where Jamaican diaspora is strong. Jamaican jerk spice and the method of cooking is 100% native to Jamaica. It was developed by Taino, the indigenous people of Jamaica, and then adopted by the Maroons. Jamaicans have managed to preserve it, and now we can find the so-called jerk centers all over the country. Jamaica is the only country in the world that uses ackee as a part of their cuisine, and even made ackee and saltfish their national dish. However, many dishes of Jamaican cuisine are the result of the mixing of many cultures. For example, curry is widely used in Jamaica because it was brought here by the people of India. The origins of Jamaican cereal drink comes from Nigeria. Jamaican patties evolved from the English Cornish pasties under the influence of Chinese, Indians and Africans, who all added something from themselves and a bit of Scotch bonnet, the authentic Jamaican spice. This all happened before the independence, but the expansion of Jamaican patties production began with the large companies like Tasties operating from 1966 and Juicy Patties from 1980s. Both of these companies were created from modest beginnings by Jamaicans of Asian descent, making patties affordable and available everywhere in Jamaica while contributing to the popularity of the patties outside of Jamaica. Now, of course, Jamaica has established and maintained a remarkable sporting record during the times of independence. Jamaica is the leader in sprinting, with the current world record holder for 100 meters and 200 meters, Usain Bolt, and the former 100 meters world record holder, Asafa Powell. The fastest female athletes in the world are currently also from Jamaica. Elaine Thompson-Herah is a 5-time Olympic champion and regarded as one of the greatest sprinters of all time. In 2014, Shelley Ann Fraser-Price became the first woman to hold all of these world titles at the same time. And in 2021 Tokyo Olympics, together with Shericka Jackson, the 3 athletes took top 3 positions. One of the greatest Jamaican sports personalities and Olympians is Merlin Ottey. She was the first female Jamaican athlete to have won an Olympic medal and has also made and broken many track and field records.
So there's no doubt at all who is the world's number 1. Merlin Ottey.
Jamaican national football team, known as the Reggae Boys, made history when they qualified for World Cup in 1998, becoming the first team from the English-speaking Caribbean nation to do so. But of course, Jamaica also became wildly famous in the 80s and 90s for its Jamaican bobsleigh team, because joining this winter sport for a tropical country that never seen snow was phenomenal at the time and still is. This story was also popularized by Disney film Cool Runnings that made a lot of foreigners fall in love with Jamaica and Jamaicans all over again. The popularity of Jamaican culture and the impact it had on the world is not just the result of one or two talented people like it's sometimes presented. It's the whole nation of people, the Jamaicans who live on the island and the Jamaican diaspora. They're the ones who created this combination of factors, taking Jamaica to where it is today. There is a saying in Jamaica, "We Likkle but we Tallawah," which means we're a small nation, but we're strong and can do anything if we set our minds to it. And of course, Jamaicans do recognize all these achievements. But I've also noticed there is another side to it, which was surprising to me personally as a foreigner. The locals are being proud to be Jamaicans, but at the same time, when they discuss Jamaica among each other, their attitude is sometimes very different. It's not only about the government or crime rate or something like this. There's just this narrative in general that mostly comes from Jamaicans themselves that belittles Jamaica. I don't want to be quoting anyone specifically in this video, but I'm sure Jamaicans know what I'm talking about. The question is, do these people have a point? It's great that Jamaica has this impact on the world when it comes to freedom and culture, which made Jamaica this brand it is today. But what about the living conditions of average Jamaicans? Did their quality of life improve over the last 60 years? Did Jamaica also have an impact on the world when it comes to housing, education, healthcare system, different industries, economy in general? Or is it just culture? So in the next video, I'd like to look at all of these points and discuss them with you. The video is coming up soon, so if you're interested, once again, please don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss it. Until then, please pause the video and leave a comment of what you think it is the most important achievement of Jamaica in these 60 years of independence. I have to add this bonus explanation to this video. My subscribers should have noticed that there was a large gap in the publishing of the videos on this channel. And if you are a subscriber, you might be interested in the reasons why. There were two. One, I had to invest a lot of time into producing this important 3-hour historical documentary about Jamaicans who studied in Ukraine and had to evacuate when the full-scale Russian invasion started. If you haven't watched it yet, please do. And more importantly is reason number 2. I spent almost a month on a trip to Ukraine with one of the goals to retrieve the original documents for the nationals of Jamaica who studied in Ukraine. You see, their original birth certificates and school certificates, which are rather difficult to renew in Jamaica, were stuck in several universities in Ukraine, mostly in Kharkiv. And for them to retrieve the documents, there had to be a person who would physically go there, deliver their applications for withdrawal, do the clearance list for each of the students, go to the library, hostel and so on, and then pick up the documents and bring them to Jamaica so that students would also be able to get the transcripts to continue their education elsewhere and not, having to start all over again. The problem is, there is still war in Ukraine, and there are no flights to Ukraine, and Kharkiv is the city shelled by Russia every single day because it's right at the front line. So, not many people wanted to go there. But I figured, I'm originally Ukrainian, I'm not gonna let some Russians prevent me from going to my first home country. And if there are Ukrainians who still live in Kharkiv, not many, but they're still there, I can sure go there for a day. So I did. I'd like to thank the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade of Jamaica, who provided the official support letter for this trip and a diplomatic note for me to take to Ukraine. They also supported me online through the whole trip, which I totally appreciate. This in turn allowed me to get help from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Ukraine, who also assisted me with this trip, and I'm truly grateful to them. I had the power of attorney from each student separately to represent them at the universities, and as a result, I brought the documents, including one transcript, and initiated the process so that the rest of the transcripts can be obtained by those students who initially contacted me. Most interesting part, this trip wasn't cheap. I had to get multiple planes and multiple trains to get from Montego Bay to Kharkiv. I was the one who financed the trip, but guess where the finance came from? You guys, by just watching the ads on this channel, and even more so, our patrons. I used the funds that patrons sent me for the support of this channel to cover a part of the costs of the trip. It was about 1/3. That is why you supporting this channel is not just helping us to make more quality content about Jamaica, you have also contributed to an important trip to retrieve Jamaican documents from the war zone. So, thank you so much for watching, and let's all give huge respect and special thanks to all our patrons who helped to make this happen. If you also wish to join our team on Patreon and support us, you can do so from only $5 per month. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next one, very soon this time.